Hello, good morning all. I'm Krishnendu, first year MSW student from Loyola College of Social Science. In this video, I'm presenting on the topic psychoanalytical model of social casework. As we know, psychoanalysis is a treatment method consisting of study of personality. Sigmund Freud is the one who proposed this theory. According to him, the personality of human beings are based on their previous experiences. So here, the therapist helps the client to get out of the unnecessary doubts, guilty feelings, false judgments, and provide comfort to their life. Psychoanalysis have different views. Firstly, as a school of psychology, where it deals with how childhood experiences mold the adult's personality. Second, as a determining the human behavior on the basis of unconscious mind. And finally, as a treatment method to treat neurotic diseases. So, as I mentioned earlier in this video, psychoanalytical theory is a personality theory. So, according to Freud, the human mind is made up of three components: the conscious mind, the preconscious, and the unconscious mind. The conscious mind contains all the feelings, emotions, and memories that can be retrieved. So, this helps think rationally and logically. The preconscious mind contains those memories which can be brought back to consciousness, so it can be considered as a back version of consciousness. That is, those we want to remember can be pushed here. While the unconscious mind is the reservoir of feeling, thoughts, urges, and memories which are out of consciousness. That is, those things that we want to forget will be pushed to unconscious and it cannot be brought back to consciousness automatically. For example, the unacceptable feelings like pain, anxiety, etc. were pushed to unconscious mind, so they cannot be brought back to memory consciously or automatically. Freud used the metaphor of iceberg to describe the three components. That is, he says the conscious mind is like the tip of the iceberg which is visible to people. The preconscious is like the part of iceberg below the water which people can see to some extent, and the unconscious mind is like the part of iceberg which is beneath the waterline and it is not visible to others, but it determines the size and strength of the iceberg. So likewise, unconscious mind plays a big role in the personality of people itself. Now we look upon the structure of personality. So as we studied, the mind has three components. Likewise, our personality also has three components. They are id, ego, and superego. It is the pleasure principle and which drive us for immediate satisfaction of needs through any ways. It lacks a rationality and reasoning. So if we act on it, we act without thinking the consequences. According to Freud, it has life urges and death urges. Life urges include eros and libido. Here, the eros is described as the urges for sustaining life, that is, their life instincts, and libido is the sexual urge or the sex drive in organisms. The death urge consists the destructive part and so is known as thanatos. So the act of aggression and foolish dangerous behaviors are categorized as thanatos behavior. Now the ego is the reality principle. Through an example, I will explain it. If it passes through a boy playing with a ball, then the boy gets the urge to snatch the ball by any means, and this may lead to conflict. But if ego drive through the boy, then the boy think rationally and decide to buy a new ball in order to satisfy it and the superego. Here in case of superego, it is a morality principle and it strives for perfection. So here in this case, the superego makes us realize that snatching ball may lead to quarrel. So it is better to leave without the ball. Thus, ego here meet the demand of it in a society with socially acceptable manner, which is being censored by superego. So at some times Ego's job is to satisfy its impulse, not offending the superego while taking into the consideration of the reality. Since ego tried to mediate between instinctual demands of id and superego, it is also termed as adjustmental mechanism. If the realistic solution is not possible, it indulges in distorting thoughts or perception of reality through certain process called defense mechanism. A person make use of defense mechanism to cope up with one's anxiety. Now we will look upon the defense mechanism. There are different types of defense mechanisms used by people unconsciously. So what is anxiety? We already told that defense mechanisms are a way to cope up with anxiety. Unconscious mental processes employed by the ego to reduce anxiety by unconsciously distorting reality is the defense mechanism. Anxiety is a state of mind characterized by strong feelings like tension, disturbing thoughts, accompanied with physical changes such as blood pressure, sleeplessness, headache, loss of appetite, etc. Some common defense mechanisms are repression, denial, reaction formation, projection, displacement, regression, sublimation, compensation, rationalization. Okay, so now we can see each defense mechanism in detail. Here, repression is the starting of a defense mechanism. Here, in repression, where unpleasant memories are pushed to unconscious. For example, not remembering a traumatic event such as being sexually abused as a child. Now, the next method, regression means a reverting back to immature childish behavior. For example, crying on hearing a bad news as an adult. Now, the next one, displacement, which means pouring our feelings to a safer target as we know if we react to the real target, it will have negative result. For example, showing anger towards mother for the anger we have towards our teachers. Then, sublimation. It means one direct his impulse into a socially accepted channel. For example, an aggressive person working as a butcher. Next, reaction formation, which means overreacting in the opposite way to one's true feelings. For example, an alcoholic protesting against alcoholism in the public space. Now, projection. Projection and rationalization is easy to understand through comparison. For example, in projection, if a student failed an exam because he didn't study, but he accuses his teacher, whereas in rationalization, he tried to justify his action by saying excuses. Now we could see in the Freud stages of psychosexual development, there are different stages of psychosexual development. They are oral stage, anal stage, genital stage, phallic stage, and latent stage. Here we have to discuss about psychosexual stages of development. But as we already learned in first year regarding the developments during all the four stages, so here in casework, what is important is that if the development in any stage is unsuccessful, it will lead to fixation in that stage. And this cause some personality problems. So we could focus on this fixation because as social caseworkers, if we know these fixations, we could know that at which stage they were got affected. So at first stage, that is oral stage. In oral stage, we know that mouth is the erogenous zone. So if fixation occurs, that will result in increased dependency, smoking, nail biting, overeating, etc. In the second stage, anal stage, if the fixation can have two effects according to Freud. If parents take Cornelian approach, anal expulsive personality may result. This will occur, so individual will be messy and destructive. If parents are too strict, then anal retentive personality may occur, which leads to rigid and obsessive behavior. In phallic stage, Oedipus complex along with castration fear and Electra complex along with penis envy will be felt. Whereas in latency stage, fixation lead to immaturity and inability to form or fulfilling relationships as an adult. In genital stage, adolescents develop interest towards opposite sex, desires for sexual experiments, and assume adult roles and responsibilities. These stages were not important to us. That is, the four stages of psychoanalytic therapy are not as important to social caseworkers because we were not therapists. But we could just go through these stages. There are four stages of psychoanalytic therapy. The first stage is intake, the next one is transference, and the other is consolidation, and the last one is a resolution. These are the four stages through which we or a therapist could carry out the psychoanalytical therapy sessions. Now we can look upon the techniques of psychoanalysis. The psychoanalysis involves some techniques that include inkblots, parapraxis, free association, dream analysis. Here in ink blots, there are pictures is used to know the feelings of client, and the other technique used is parapraxis or Freudian slip. Here, according to Freud, every action has a meaning. So if we flip our tongue, then what we had told will be something from our unconscious. For example, a nutritionist giving a lecture intended to say we should always demand the best in bread. But instead he slipped his tongue and instead of saying bread, he said bed. So it's his unconscious. Now we can look detail about the main two techniques. They are dream analysis and free association. According to Freud, analysis of dream is the royal road to unconscious. But he say that during dream, along with the repressed memory, the current memory will also come, but it would be altered. So he calls the altered one as manifest content and the other as latent content. Thus, the task here is to distinguish between these two, and the later is what it really means. In free association, the client is given a word and asked to talk about it or asked to talk about their wish. Here, a free and trustful environment and relationship between client and worker is essential. During free association, the client may experience intense emotions as flashbacks are coming. So, such a stressful memory, so real it feels like it is happening again, it is called abreaction. If such a disturbing memory occurred in therapy or with a supportive friend and one feel better, relieved or cleansed later, it would be called a catharsis. So this would give the trainer a clear view about the client's problem. Thus, here in social casework, the role of psychoanalytical model is that it helps the caseworker to identify how the childhood experiences had affected the individual, whether the individual had any problems of fixation, and moreover, the techniques like free association can be used to know the real and root problem of the client. But since the caseworker is not acting as a therapist, it would be better to use the model in a peripheral manner rather than using it to treat problems. And